The 2008 Beijing Summer Olympics. Some basic facts about the 2008 Summer Olympics. Beijing's National Stadium holds 91,000 spectators. From the 7th to the 24th of August, it was held. A total of 10,942 athletes competed in over 28 sports and 302 events. It's the 22nd nation to host the Olympic Games and the 18th to hold a Summer Olympic game. More than 40 world records and over 130 Olympic records were broken. In cycling, the road followed the Great Wall and passed in front of the Forbidden City, which are two symbols of the 1,000-year-old history of Beijing. Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Togo all experienced podium finishes for the first time in history. Mongolia and Panama brought home this country's first Olympic gold. Swimmer Michael Phelps bettered Mark Spitz's achievement at the 1972 Munich Games by claiming 8 swimming gold medals. Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt broke the 100-meter and 200-meter world records and claimed a third gold record with the Jamaican 4x100-meter relay team. Beijing's goal was to demonstrate to the world how democratic, open, civilized, and friendly China is now. My thesis was, although hosting the Olympics can cost a country a fortune, it was worth it for China to host the 2008 Olympic Games because they were able to improve Beijing's economic development, become more aware of their environmental problems, and advertise themselves as a safe and open location to visit. China's economy was heavily impacted through the Olympics. They estimated that it would cost them $1.625 billion. Events were the second most expensive Olympic Games ever held, reaching a total cost of US dollars $40 billion. They also transformed the cityscape of Beijing through the Beijing Olympics Action Plan, sweeping plans to build stadiums and facilities for the Olympics and a makeover of Beijing itself. They built the Olympic Park and 37 stadiums and venues that hosted the Olympic events. They built 32 buildings in Beijing, 19 new and 13 refurnished. They also built venues in 5 other Chinese cities. They constructed a total of 59 training centers and new projects for the Paralympic Games. The most famous stadium they built was the National Stadium, also known as the Bird's Nest. They also improved their transportation for the Games, and $1.1 billion on transportation improvements. Building and extending Beijing's subway system, completing the city's light rail system, and constructing and refurnishing more than 108 kilometers of city streets. This included the 23 roads in and around the Olympic sites, 2 new ring roads around the city, and a high-tech traffic control system. The city had built a new airport terminal of the Beijing Capital International Airport and had extended the toll road to the airport. According to Beijing's 11th five-year plan from 2008 to 2010, Beijing will spend more than $200 million to demolish housing and urban buildings, refurnish 25 historical areas, including many of the city's landmarks, old streets, and corners that date back from the imperial period. They also decided to restore many historical places, including the Forbidden City in Beijing. Beijing had budgeted $3.6 billion to transform Beijing into a digital city by 2008, with the widespread use of digital and broadband telecommunications, wireless transmission, and networking technologies. Tourism was also highly affected during the Games. The number of tourists in Beijing has risen rapidly. Jen Hun, president of the Beijing Olympic Economic Research Association, estimated in the spring of 2009 that Beijing will receive roughly 600,000 foreign visitors and 2.5 million domestic Chinese tourists during the Olympic Games. The number of foreign tourists in Beijing grew from 8 to 9% annually in the decade following the Games because of the Games themselves. According to the China National Tourism Administration, Beijing had 3.8 million foreign visitors arrivals in 2007, up to 11.8% over 2006, and China had 42.4 million foreign visitors arrivals last year, up to 20.8% over 2006. Beijing has even taken steps to improve air quality, such as ordering coal-burning power plants to reduce emissions, construction projects to halt during the period around the Olympic Games, and 200 heavily polluting factories to move out of the city. Air quality will remain a worry for the athletes who participate in the Games, but these things should help subside it. Under the Beijing Sustainable Development Plan, China launched 20 projects to improve the quality of air with an overall investment of $12.2 billion. City has established new wastewater treatment plants, solid waste processing facilities, and green belts, and even built a fleet of clean buses for the games. They replaced 47,000 old taxis and 7,000 diesel buses and began requiring vehicles to meet EU emissions standards. Natural gas, geothermal, and wind power are gradually replacing coal. Much of Beijing is now covered by trees, bushes, and different types of plants. Beijing has also set up 20 natural reserves to protect forests, wild plants, animals, wetlands, and geological formations, according to the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, in October 2007. 2008 Olympics was the cleanest, most environmental friendly ever, according to UNEP report, despite concerns about Beijing's air pollution. They used a lot of advertising to change China's image. Games were the most watched Olympics in history. It attracted 4.7 billion viewers worldwide and landed on the Guinness World Records, making the Olympics a national event. They had their own slogan, which was One World, One Dream. It was widely promoted at Green and High Tech Olympics. They created mascots to help their country seem friendly. Recruitment of Beijing Olympics partners, sponsors, suppliers, and many other companies that want to take advantage of the Olympic buzz in Beijing had helped to boost advertising spending sharply. Advertised spending in China, 42.5% of which is focused on television, will likely rise from 14.7 billion in 2007 to the roughly 18.4 billion in 2008. And spending on the internet advertising may rise by as much as 30%, according to an October 2007 Zenith Autumn Media World Advertising Expenditure Forecast. China's sports industry, immature in 2001, is growing rapidly. The Hong Kong Trade Development Council estimates that China's sports industry, tiny though, has a market potential of $250 billion. China really struggled to try and host the games. China was chosen to host, and the decision was predictably controversial. Boycotts of the opening ceremony by many international actors such as Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and an assortment of political figures. United States Commission on International Religious Freedom argued the boycotting the games would bring critical attention to China's troubled human rights record, but others argued that boycotting the games would only severe to intensity China's human rights abuses by unifying the Chinese government in the face of international hostility. When I visited China to see the 2008 Summer Olympics,